A big hello to everybody. Wasn't sure how to start this off, but might as well start somewhere. So, first and foremost, I'd like to say thank you very much to all the parents at my school. You guys are gems for the trust that you have with me, with your kids, um, especially with some of the dialogue that we have, and the things that we discuss at the school with the kids, because that's just martial arts as well, right? I mean, we're not just handing them a loaded gun and say, well, here you go, have fun, right? So martial arts for me was always, it was part physical, part mental, part philosophical. So, and that's what I try to do with the kids at the school too. So I thank you very much for the trust that you have with me, with your kids. I did want to touch on something that, because I usually have a lot of dialogue with the kids at the end of the class and sometimes in the middle of the class by referring to examples of what we're doing in terms of life. I don't get a chance to talk with you guys except when it's leisure, and leisure is usually we're just having fun and just chatting about. But I did want to bring up a couple of things, a couple of points that I've seen lately that are, it's been disturbing for a while now because things are out in the open. But certain things that I feel I need to, relay to you guys, because I find now it's becoming a little bit more prevalent now. This entire agenda with sexualizing our kids that is going on, that is present. This is happening around the world, right? This is a global agenda. Now, who decides this? Who takes it upon themselves to decide it? Totally different story. We all, for those that know, they know. To think that there's a governing body above each individual culture, and I mean each individual culture, be it Indian, Lebanese, Greek, Italian, Scottish, Irish, whatever, that this particular body somehow is above and beyond what that culture's, beliefs are, is, to me, it's absolutely insane. So, and this is where we have come today, because there is a power that's out there that has taken control over many countries and now are enforcing this particular agenda against, the family, the kids, the country itself, and this is in many countries, especially those that are under NATO, not so much under the UN, because there's a lot of countries, every country is under the UN, but mostly the NATO countries. The Western, we can say, countries. So this is what it is, Not so much the very Eastern countries, but the Western countries. And yes, let's include some Eastern countries. This sexualizing of kids at an early age in school is beyond troublesome. I'm thankful that my kids are in their 20s, so I don't have to worry about this stuff because, well, I do because, not immediately, but I do, because my kids are going to have kids one day, God willing, and I can't even imagine what it's going to be like, if these people enforce what they are trying to enforce on our children at a very early age, and all in front of your eyes. Now, this is what I believe. Okay, well, last week, I think it was last week, I put up on one of the posts on my Facebook page, where an email that was received by a parent in one of the towns outside of Montreal, I think, from their school board, saying that there's a new teacher in town, and he, she, we, be, de, boo, ba, boo, wants to be addressed as mix, MX, okay? And they tried to pass this lunacy and insanity off as, some justifiable, means of this is how we need you to communicate. What they're doing is they're taking the normal, they're turning it topsy-turvy. That's what it is. They're trying to normalize madness. And by that, even the brain cannot fathom it. Now, if you can actually sit there and go, sure, hey, they, them, thy, do, thy, thee, and speak to people like that, then they can do anything they want with you. What they're doing is they are rewriting common sense vocabulary that has been around for a long time, and they're allowing these people in the school systems, they're going to give prevalence to these people, these type of teachers, where they're going to come in there and dictate as if they own your kids. This is where they're going with. So anyways, going back to the email, this email stated that it's important now. They're trying to push the pronouns on the kids and make sure that everybody understands the MX and how it's pronounced, as if we give a fuck, as if anybody should give a fuck about what they're doing, about this. This is insanity. So when they legalize insanity, now you're forced to think. This is also cognitive dissonance that kicks into a normal person's head, to have to use words that are completely contrary to that which he has grown up and understood to be, because it has been like that for thousands of years. And now these people, for the sake of this particular colorful group, are making up new words. You might as well be speaking Klingon in that sense, and understanding that language. I'd rather be speaking Klingon from Star Trek and learn how to speak Klingon than have to learn this fucking bullshit. But it's the same shit. It's the same shit they're trying to do. They're trying to take nonsense and try to make nonsensical garbage into sense, which is only those that get paid by these guys will go along with shit like that, like some of these politicians. Only those people, those with no backbones. Those with backbones are challenging this shit because they understand and they see what insanity looks like, right? Now, that was one email that was sent to the parents of that school. I don't know what the parents did. I didn't follow up through with it, but I reading the email, it was in French. It was just, I have it on my Facebook page if you want to go check it out. I think it's from last week or the week before. And I was just enraged just reading through that and saying, no, these people are trying to make up new rules to this world that excludes the majority and is only and gives power to this tiny minority. That's not democracy. Obviously, we understand what's going on. This is not democracy. But this is not my point. I'm just going to tell you what's going on, and then I'll get to my point as to why I made this video and what I think, what my opinion is. Okay? Well, my opinion, that should be done. Then, because we do have a lot of dialogue in my school with a lot of the kids. The kids are pleasant. I'm always pleasantly surprised to see how open they are. Obviously, these topics are discussed with them and their parents first, and then they bring it up, and then they bring it up to me in class with everybody else, in front of everybody, which is how we do things in my school. Unless it's a very private matter, but usually these social things are brought up, in class in front of everybody, so that we can address it, so that all the kids understand what is going on. And I thank God that me and the parents and I are on the same page when it comes to morals, ethics, and family, and these belief systems. And that is the most important thing. I reflect and reaffirm what parents are driving into their kids at home. And these are concerned parents in my school. And I thank God that they are, because I see the differences in the kids. I see what a concerned parent looks like, as opposed to a parent that's given everything to the child so as not to upset their emotional well-being, and watching their child grow up into this big, bloody mush, emotional and mental mush of a mess. So, because we do talk with the kids, one of the kids brought up yesterday, this is a grade 3er, and they brought up and he brought up the topic that in his class they were teaching him about puberty. Now, back in my days, when people and teachers were a lot more brighter, because they relied on also cultural tradition, and that which has been handed down for thousands of years that has worked real well. What you should expose and when you should expose things to students. When is it the appropriate time? When is it the right age? And they started teaching puberty at these kids and in detail. Now, I remember in grade 6, we were doing sex ed with Mr. Gittleman. It was so boring, the class, and so inexplicit. It was just so dull because he didn't get into explicit stuff. He just showed the reproductive system, and that was it, and that's that. He didn't show what they're showing today, where they're actually showing, within their books of, kids giving blowjobs to other kids, and I even hate saying it, dude. I mean, where you have little boys fucking little boys and giving blowjobs to another little boy, and a little girl eating out another little girl and stuff like that. They didn't show that shit to us. They just showed the reproductive system from a medical standpoint, from a medical perspective, and like what you would see in medical books, and that was it. It was so boring I fell asleep. But that's what it was. We were in grade 6. I was 12 years old. I wasn't 9, 10. I wasn't being introduced to sexualization. Puberty is something that also parents get involved. That's the educational system. How much education needs to be, pumped into our kids? What type of education? Who, why are we allowing them? Because obviously we're allowing them. This is why they're doing what they're doing, because there is absolutely no resistance. Very tiny bit of resistance, and to them that's nothing, and they're saying, well, we're going to decide what we're going to educate your kids on. No, dude. That's how the general attitude should be. No, you are 1 + 1, 2 + 2, and things that are of culture and that are of certain nature that belong to the parents to teach the kids should be left to the parents, at least at an early age. Now, you want to teach it later on, that's a different story. Kids are a little bit more educated. The parents have taught them how to go. And, as far as, for example, living in Canada, we all go by the laws of the land, and for those that do have, that do go by where their faith is, legit, no murdering, no stealing, and the regular laws, right? So now they're teaching them at a very early age. Now, in different countries, they will approach this differently, given the type of culture that's involved, the type of people, the reaction of the people that they anticipate they might get from. So every country is dealt differently with these people, because don't forget, this is going down on a global scale. And don't forget, the UN, the UN is not our friend, okay? The UN's main publishing company is the Lucis Funds, which is originally the Lucifer Funds, estate. So they're the ones that publish everything that come out from the UN, and then it trickles down to the rest of societies, especially the school system. Anything coming into the school systems is, coming through the UN type of thing. Canadian government just gets that which the UN has handed to them, gives to them, and then they pass it on to the school systems. Now, where does that put you parents? It kind of puts you in a pickle. And my heart goes out to you guys, because especially for you who have kids that are still in elementary school or just getting into high school, this is going to get so much worse, because they're starting with this in grade 3, the puberty thing in grade 2 and 3, and these are certain topics that should be dealt with the parents. These are private matters for each child that should be dealt with the parents. That should be exposed by teachers if the teacher assumes the responsibility of the parents. No teacher should have that, right? And if they do assume that, they're going to get what's coming to them, and they deserve what they get, because you cannot, if you're delusional, if you think that you have something over a parent, when it comes to their kids. Those are delusional people. Those are the sick people that they're hiring today to represent the LGBTQ in schools, so that they can mother and father their kids their way. This is the Marxist communist system in which they try to separate kids from their parents. It's all over again, only it's wrapped in a nice bow of pseudo-democracy and socialism, but it all comes down to the same shit. And this is just the beginning of communism, up until they establish what they need to do, and they'll do it subtle so that they don't create too large of a ripple in society, where it reverberates outwards and then it just turns into a tsunami with the people. But this is a hidden tsunami. This is what it is. We are living in a hidden tsunami. Here's the thing. This is what you guys need to understand. You parents who have kids in elementary school and, early high school, you need to educate your kids on certain things, on cultures. First, on what they're trying to do to your kids. You need to educate your kids on what these school systems and what the government is trying to do to them. Let them know that this is what they're going to encounter in school. Educate your kids that way, so they understand that when they meet up with this stuff, it's garbage. Let it go in one ear, out the other. You guys need to take back the educational system. You guys are paying for it. Yeah, you do pay for it. School taxes. You do pay for it. You guys also, without you and your kids in there, they have nothing. They can't teach anything. What they're trying to do now eventually is they're trying to turn it into a law where you cannot take your kid out of school or out of a particular class. And eventually what they want to do is take away the ability to homeschool. Like, no, the kid will belong to the system, to the state. They will do that. They're on their way to doing that. There's two types of people. Those in denial, those in, not too bright about things because they don't concern themselves with these things in life. They're too busy with everything, with whatever they're busy with, instead of these particular matters. And then the ones that do know. Your conspiracy realist friends. Okay? So, this is what I suggest, because this is what I suggest that parents do today. Okay? Because I can only imagine how alone a parent must feel, just between him and his wife. And even some parents together as a couple might have certain differences in terms of, what they should believe in, what they, what is right, what is acceptable, what isn't acceptable. Okay? Even between a couple. And I totally understand that. I totally get that. No two people are alike. But if educated properly and presented properly, and defined, what is my role as a parent? What is your role? What is the role of the government? What is acceptable and not acceptable? You understand? Then I think people would be able to see eye to eye a little bit more. Okay? From a moral standpoint, not a subjective moral standpoint, from an objective moral standpoint. Because, subjective is, I'm a unicorn. I'm a sandbox today. Come and pee in my sandbox. I'm a this, I'm a that, I'm a. This is what it is. It's a subjective reality. It's a false reality. Because you cannot walk into a bank and say, I'm a millionaire, I want $1 million. They're going to throw you out. You can't walk into a cockpit, in the middle of a flight, or stand up, as a passenger, say, people, I'm a pilot. I'm taking over this flight. And never been to, and walk into the cockpit and say, get out, I'm taking over the flight. No, I've never been to school, but I imagine that I can fly this plane. See, that's reality. Reality is you'd be arrested on the spot. That's reality. What they're dictating, though, is another reality. It's a very evil reality. It's not real. You cannot take a man and make into a woman, a woman into a man. You can chop off body parts and pretend and become even more dysphoric than anything else. And you're not even treating the illness. Now you're enabling the sin and the sickness. You're enabling it. And if you enable sickness, all you're going to have is crazy running rampant. So what I suggest parents should do, because if you feel alone right now and and you don't know how to handle things, this is what I would do if my kids were in school right now today, because we didn't have to handle that. We didn't have to deal with that. When my kids were in elementary school, we didn't have to deal with that. It was not even the beginning stages. They were just, they were attempting to try to do it when my kids were young. And they were trying to bring lesbian couples into school to show them that mom and mommy are a good thing. And people objected and they stopped. So now they went straight to the source, right? Imagine the power that they must have, this tiny minority, to go straight to the source. And they're not 10% of society, they're 1% of society. Of course, the other side's going to lie, So what I suggest parents need to do? You cannot fight this alone. This is way too powerful, but not powerful enough for an entire community of parents. This is what I suggest you do. Parents that are really, really, because there's always a bunch of, wacko parents that are okay with this stuff. Look at the ones that bring kids to drag queen story shit. They're doing the same shit. These parents need to have their fucking parental, certificates revoked. Put these kids in different homes, man. I mean, these are not parents. These are demons. These are not parents, dude. Back in the day when things were real, those parents would have been hung because they're destroying the kids. That's what they were. And the kids taken away from such an abomination of a parent for the sake of the kid. The community would pull them away back then. Now it's that they're, no, because we have equal amount of stupid teachers that, go along with this and people. So you'd be surprised, though, what power you guys have in numbers. So this is what I suggest. This is my opinion. If I was still in school, I would see who my friends are in that school, parents, other parents, of course, outside of the official parent committee. That's always usually controlled by the teachers and the board and the yada, yada, yada. No. Right now, the enemy is everybody other than the parents. Anybody who's confronting their kids and selling nonsense and this garbage this evil to their kids. I would go and find my friends that are in the same school, how many friends I have, and I would sit down, go for a coffee, talk with the fathers, the moms, and the dads together, and speak and talk and say, okay, well, now we're concerned, and now we need to do something. So what do you need to do first? You need to get your friends to go out and get the friends that they have that you might not know or might not be acquainted with, and say, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. We're putting this and this together, getting together as parents, concerned parents. We don't like what is being propagated in the school, and we want to do something about it. One thing at a time. Yes, if you'd like, let's get together. We'll get together at another Tim Hortons or whatever, and we'll sit down and have and just talk more and brainstorm and see if we can get more parents. And first of all, talk about the disdain that we all share for this. First and foremost, you need to be able to share these things and say, okay, and express that and say, yes, I think it's wrong, and let it out, because people are actually bottling it in. They're almost afraid to say it, and to at least have the guts and the heart to say, no, this is what's happening, totally against this, or we all good, okay, let's find some more people, and you'd be surprised how many will start coming in, feeling less alone, and less alone, and less alone, and then the more people you have now you start establishing power. They're doing this in the States because it's getting pretty bad there, They're in some school boards in some states, California especially, those places, New York. Now, what needs to be done is, now you start getting together. Now, who knows, you might have a few hundred parents, maybe 5, maybe whoever. The word will go out. And it's important to for parents to understand that the school is a separate entity. They are backing the concerns and the dogma of the school board, while you guys are representing your children and what you deem acceptable for them to be educated in. And if you've got enough people, you have a few hundred people, 2, 3, who knows, maybe 5, maybe, if there's like 400 or 500 kids in a school by two parents, you know. So if you've got, let's say, even a couple of hundred parents, 500, 600 parents, and you can get together and say, okay, listen, let's all put in $500, $1,000, $1,000 each, because we think that this is a very important thing, and go retain a fucking kick-ass lawyer to represent our committee, yes, and do a non-profit organization where this is the treasurer, this, and it's done properly. Because this is now greater than you. It's about your children, our children. It's about our children. But how many will do it without having to think and say, oh yeah, but wait a minute, if I give 1,000, that's $1,000 off of my vacation next year from Greece, where we can be there for a month and we can party, and that's my shopping. And this is where a lot of fucking people's mentalities are. Who the fuck goes for vacation for 2 months? Ever in the history of man fucking kind had anybody done that? Prince and kings don't do that, you know. But no, you know, the middle class will, because that's what they've been taught. You know, oh, but we're not in the back in the days where they couldn't afford it. What are you talking about? They couldn't afford it. Hey, people today can't fucking afford it. They're on fucking credit when they're doing it. And they're doing it on an airplane, you know, points and shit. Only the rich actually pay for the fucking thing. So you can't take some of that, because unless your vacation is much more important than what they're going to be doing to their kids and how they're going to be pulling your kids away. Because I've seen a lot of kids come up from what we consider good families. We don't even know what good families are anymore. What's a good family? That's questionable. That's debatable. Good families reach grade 9 and all of a sudden come back with green hair. Mom, I'm a guy now and this is it. No, I believe in God and that's that. And watch their kids change in front of their fucking eyes because they sent them to high school with an empty brain. No culture, no belief, no faith, no nothing. And spare me the ones that say, well, no, I grew up in a Christian family and I still became a unicorn. No, you might have grown up in a Christian per se family, but you were not taught Christian values, not the right way, unless you were shoved down your fucking throat to the point where you regurgitated it. Yeah, that could happen. And I've seen good families actually raise great kids. 35 years I've been dealing with kids, almost 35 years. Over 30, and I've seen the difference between the families that are engaged with their kids. They teach their kids. They have a bond with their kids. They know that their kids are going to somewhere stray, but their kids stray less when they have that bond from very young, because they've taught their kids this particular way. So their kids don't want to be separated from their parents and take the side of teachers like they're doing today. So that's what I recommend. This is what I'd say would be the most plausible thing to do, and the most, it's a very powerful tool, because not only are you powerful in numbers, but now you can actually take 500 to 1,000 each. Take 200 people, that's $200,000. You just retain your services of a lawyer, you know, of a damn good lawyer, constitutional lawyer, a damn good lawyer. Hey, you might not go to court, but at least it's there. And if you never have to use it, well, pull it back out. It's a non-profit thing. This is an agreement that you will all have together for the same cause, same common cause. This is what it's supposed to be about. And something does come up. Teachers are, you know, resisting you, this, that, whatever. Nothing beats showing up with a lawyer. Nothing. Because you going alone, they have nothing to be afraid of. But when you're suing them individually and as an institution, let them know that their lives will be turned upside down. Absolutely. Only with good resistance will you have a school back away. Now, eventually, they will pull those in. They will put those in one way or another. But at least it'll hold off. Here's the biggest mistake that most parents will make. And this is a biggie, man, because this is the problem that we face with today is, well, my kid doesn't go to that school anymore. Or, well, it hasn't happened to my kid. That is an egocentric, selfish approach. And this is why these guys have the power to do what they're doing to your kids today because of this individualism, self-centered, egocentric, selfish. Well, it's not happened to my kids, so I don't know what that feels like. If you cannot feel for somebody else's kid and say we need to take action to do it, then there's something wrong with you as a parent. There's something wrong with parents if they don't feel for that, don't feel the need. Me as a parent of 25-year-old and 27-year-old, I'm looking what's happening here. I'm enraged, man. I'm enraged. But I teach kids at the same time too. I have a lot of kids in the school and adults too. But I mean, I have a lot of kids. I'm enraged, and my heart goes out to the parents. I'll join them. This is insane. This is insane to think that there's a body outside of the parents who are trying to own your child's mind. It's insane. And even worse are the parents that sit by idle and going, well, it hasn't happened to my kid. It's not happening in my grade. My kid's grade, so we're okay. It doesn't need to, we don't, it's not happening in my school yet. Or it's not happening in this grade, or it's not happening now, or it's not happening, and you just don't want to get involved. Dude, life, you better understand life. It comes back to bite you in the butt one way or another. God exists. Zikirios Otheos. Like the Lord lives and reigns, and things come back to us in a way that is devastating. What you try to avoid, you will meet head on. I guarantee you that. And it'll hurt you 100 times more then than any other time. So, I've already taken half an hour of your time. That's my recommendation. Parents need to come together so you don't feel alone, because if you're alone, you won't change anything. And what are you going to do? Pull your kid out of where? Pull your kid out of this school, pull your kid out of that school, eventually be in every school. Homeschool your kid? Okay. For how long? Not everybody can homeschool their kids. Whereas if you as parents got together and tackled this as a massive force, they would have no choice. They would have no choice but to step down from what they're doing. In this way, you'd have some say as to what they're teaching your kids in class and what they won't teach. Because they have the right to teach ABC, 1, 2, 3, and the distance between Calcutta and Germany is so much, and this is the history of that, and even the history they're fucking up. They've maligned so much of world history, it's insane to build up their own little narrative. So, but at least you can get away with that because it doesn't directly affect the kids. Now they're going after the kids. So that's what I think you guys should do. And as far as the parents in my school is concerned, I'll help in any way I possibly can. But you need to get together, and you need to be a massive group, and need the school board and the school itself to know that you have also the funds to employ a fucking warrior of a lawyer, that will sue the pants out of every one of them. If your kids are going to be troubled, then they too will be legally troubled at the highest extent of the law to start with. So basically that's it. I mean, there's so much to discuss and so much that I want to get off my mind, and in terms of strategies are concerned, but this video was mainly about that. Nothing worse than feeling helpless than to be alone as a family, as a one tiny family unit, and not know what to do for your kids. You go this way, they're teaching that. You go that way, they're teaching this. Come together as a group, man. Come together as a group. Somebody has to step up first to go out and say, I need to do this. I need to go get it. John, are you good with this? Okay, let's get together. Get your wife, our wife, sit down, have coffee. Let's go for dinner. Us four first. And then we'll get Betty and Dick. And then we'll get, Kumar and who else. Let's all get together, go and have a bigger meal, have a bigger discussion and say, okay, we need this. And let's be real. How much money do we waste a fucking year on garbage that you can put in legal fees? It'll be real. And if you have that parent going, oh, but we were supposed to go to Jamaica next year. But our kids are, Jamaica, our kids. Jamaica for 1 week or 2 weeks, our kids. Greece for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, 2 months. Our kids 9, 10 months of the year. Do we sacrifice that? Do we sacrifice their well-being for that, for we can have a real good fucking time for 2 months or a month and a half or 3 weeks in Greece and waste $40,000 as a family? That's the fucking mentality of the decadence that people have today. Parents should be coming together. I hope you do. That's it for now. Later.